Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and welcome to my online class to go. So this is my weekly live video. For those who aren't familiar with the online class, if you place an order of $75 or more before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards redemptions, by the end of Saturday night, I will send you the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards from this week's class. So you'll get all the cardstock, designer series paper and ribbon that you need for the cards. You just need to add your own stamps, ink, adhesive. I don't die cut any images that are from the featured bundle. So for this week, the featured bundle is Pine Tree Trimmings. But any die cuts, embossing folders, punches that are not part of the featured bundle, I do include those. For the ones that are part of the featured bundle, I include the cardstock that you need, just not the actual die cuts themselves. All right, so this week's bundle, as I mentioned, is Pine Tree Trimmings. So I will just switch the camera around. So these are the 3 projects for this week. So a couple of different ones this week. We've got some heat embossing on the first one, which I had intended to do during the live, but then realized I got a bit ahead of myself and I've actually already done it. But for anyone who hasn't, who doesn't know how to heat emboss, hasn't done it before, I do have some of my upcoming classes do have heat embossing in them, so I will do that. Then second one is a fairly straightforward card, nice and simple, and the third one is a shaker card with the domes that coordinate with the stamp set and die bundles. So the featured set is the Pine Tree Trimmings. So that's the set, and then you've got a small set of dies that go with it. So you've just got the one tree shape, which cuts out all of the trees, a couple of ones for the little gifts, the star, and an embellishment for the tree. So let's get started with the heat embossed one. So this one I have gone with basic beige for the card base. Now I do have another version of this which I'll show you at the end, using one of the other colors from I think it's a Season of Elegance designer series paper. So I did another one just as a sample in one of the other colors to show how it would look with the other colors from the set. So let me just get all my pieces out. So we have the designer series paper. I've used Very Vanilla for this one. I did originally use, I had the basic white, but it was a bit too stark against the basic beige and the gold. The heat embossed and die cut tree, so I've used the gold from the Metallics Wow embossing powder, and then a Very Vanilla sentiment label and a Real Red label, which we'll use to create the border, and then another Very Vanilla piece for the insert. So now I need to make sure I remember to do the ribbon first before I stick the paper down, because I'm very good at forgetting about that. Now, because so it's going in the ribbon's going in the middle, and because part of the that ribbon is going to be covered by the die cut circle, and that's embossed as well, that one with the soft waves, I'm fine with adding a bit of tear and tape underneath. Normally I wouldn't with this one because it is a sheer ribbon, but because it's going to be hidden, tiny little piece I prepared earlier. I'm fine with that because it's going to be hidden, so you're not going to see you're not going to see the adhesive, so that is absolutely fine. And we'll add a bit more up at the end, just so that we can wrap it round the back, and a bit more on this end as well. So, and I reckon we can probably add, yeah, we can add a little bit more in the middle. I just like to make sure it's well stuck down and doesn't move around too much. So let's get the backings off. Oops. Try and keep it on the ribbon, not on me. And is this one going to play nice? Maybe. There we go. Alrighty. So just make sure I've got, oops. I want to make sure that the adhesive side is, well, the side with the extra adhesive is the side that is going to be covered, even though realistically with all the gold it's probably going to be fairly well hidden anyway. And I'll just make sure that's reasonably straight. The tape is trying to come off on my hands. That's fine. We will just make sure that is straight. Alright, that bit is fine now, so we can stick that down. I'll just use okay. And that goes down, even border, or as even as you can around the sides. And then I will use the green glue to stick this one down because it is embossed, so it'll be a little bit easier to stick with the green glue. And I think it's about time I got a new one of those out. So we'll just press that down and grab some dimensionals for the tree. Where are my minis? There they are. That should be enough. Get all the backings off. And get that in the center. That's about right. And now we can stamp the sentiment. So I'm using real red for the sentiment, and I'm using the Sending Christmas Wishes sentiment from the set, and hopefully I'm roughly in the right position. Then what we're going to do, we're going to cut this one in half, and I might grab this one. Hopefully this one will be okay for a little bit longer. Add a little bit of adhesive to the back, and then we're going to add the real red and just create a little bit of a border. Press that down. Same thing on the other end. Add some glue, and then add in and just slide it down until you get the amount of border that you want. Try and match it as best you can to the other end, or at least as close as you can get. Alright, and then we'll pop that up on some more dimensionals. One more. There we go. And then we get all the backings off. Okay. Oh, one more. No, two more. There we go. So we're just going to put that one in the middle and get some more of the gold mesh ribbon. Tie a bow. I think I might start that one again, mess that up. Okay, take two. That's a little bit up. And just bringing that down to size. So that's going to sit here. So we'll just trim the ends. So you can have the ends as short or as long as you like, depending on your preference. Probably need to trim that one a little bit just to match the first one. And we'll just use a glue dot to stick that one down. So we're going to stick it fairly close to the edge of the circle, and if you want, you can tuck. Actually, no, you can't with that one. you can sort of tuck it under the edge of the tree there. Sometimes when they have a bit of a mind of their own and don't sit where you want them to, you can tuck them under anything that's popped up. So that can be quite helpful. Hi Dimity, thank you for coming. Nice to see you again. Alright, all that is left now, we will add the insert, add some embellishments, and then make sure I remember to show you the variation with one of the other colours from the DSP pack. So if you want something with more traditional colours and not quite so neutral, you can go with one of the other colours from the pack. We will add a little bit more colour with the faceted snowflakes. So we will add a few of those, one for the top of the tree, and a couple more. That should be enough for that one. Alrighty, so that is that one using basic beige. The DSP pack also has Old Olive and Real Red from memory. So this one I did with the Old Olive. So I used the basic white because that works better than it does with that one. So very vanilla for that one, basic white for this one. And so I've embossed again with the gold, but you could always just stamp, or you could even, if you wanted to use basic white, stamp in green, or you could stamp in Old Olive on Old Olive cardstock. But that is a variation on that first one, but with more traditional colours. So just as a little something else, because originally, the reason I did that, originally I had cut basic white for the circles and embossed them, and then realised that it was not going to work for this particular one. So I decided to play around with the same sort of layout, but different colours. So that's why I did that one. Alrighty, on to the second card. So the second one is a nice, quick and easy card. So this one is shaded spruce and real red. So once I find my kit, so we have some DSP from the Traditions of Christmas pack. I've already, because I decided to fussy cut this one rather than die cut, so I did that ahead of time so you don't have to sit and watch me fussy cut. Stylish Shapes, real red circle, basic white punch circles, and basic white for the inside, and real red for the front. So let's do the stamping first, just to make sure everything is lined up where we need it so that we can stick everything together. So I'm using the My House to Yours and using real red ink again. And we're just going to go up in the top right corner. There's that done, and give me a sec. I think I hear my dog wanting to join me. Just give me a sec. Not going far. Peggy, come on. Come on. Alright, I might just have to leave the door open for her. She's out there, she wants to come in, but she's a little confused. That's alright. I will leave the door open, she can come in when she's ready. Alright, so next thing we need to join the basic white and the real red, but we need to make sure it's going to fit on that. So what I am going to do, after I get up in a second, shut the door once she comes in, there we go. All right, excuse me again, I will be back very soon. There we go, all good. All right, so because I generally prefer to cut the two pieces so that there is a bit of overlap rather than being an exact match. Sometimes I do it that way, but usually I prefer to have a little bit of overlap. So, but we need to make sure that once that we overlap so that it is going to stick. That it is going to end up the right size. So what I have found to be helpful, so I don't end up accidentally getting glue on the piece that I'm matting it to and it's sticking to, I put it down, I get the silicone sheet, put that over the top, because you can still see through, and I can see a dimensional backing there, but you can still see the cardstock underneath. And then I'm going to, so make sure you flip the pieces over, and you can make sure that you've got the border. But now I need to make sure, because I want the DSP down first, and then the basic white. And I am just going to double check, because yeah, that's all good. Just want to make sure I don't end up covering up the stamping. I did cut it so that it wouldn't, and I did design it so that it wouldn't happen that way, but I am prone to making mistakes like that and doing things in a rush. All right, so I've got that about right. I've got enough of a border at the top and the bottom, so I think that's pretty good. And I'm just going to use the tear and tape to join it to start. Actually, no, not that's, what am I saying? The whole reason I'm doing it this way is so that I can actually stick adhesive down. This is what happens when you get distracted. So we get that in line. That should be pretty good. I'm going to just flip that over and double check. Yep, that's pretty good. So then I'm going to take the ribbon, cut a piece of that, and apologies if you can hear my dog in the background. She is currently chewing on her legs, as she likes to do. I'm just going to hold that down so I can get some tape on the back of the ribbon. And a bit more on the other side. And there we go. Alrighty. Then I'll just move those out of the way. We'll just get those backings off. And just make sure that you don't end up covering the sentiment, of course, but that should be pretty good. All right, and then in theory, dimensional backings wanting to hang around. In theory, that should fit nicely on there. I think that's, yep, that's about right. And I'm just going to double check and make sure I didn't need to do anything else before I stick this down. Alrighty, let's get that down, and then we can get that on the card front. And while I'm doing that, and before I forget, and the information will be in my weekly emails, but I am going to be starting at this stage it'll be monthly sort of social online crafting session. So it will be, to start with at least, it will be Friday nights, so 7 till 9 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and it'll be on Zoom, and it is just a chance to get together, craft, chat. There's no sales or anything like that. It is purely a social crafting event. Everyone is welcome, doesn't matter what country or time zone or anything else you're in. Everyone is welcome, but you do need to be on my email list to get the Zoom link for that, because it will only be in my emails. I won't be posting it on social media. So make sure you are on my email list if you want to receive that. Alrighty, now we just need to adhere the circles. And it's definitely about time to open up a new one of these. And then we will stick this one down over on the left hand side. and another reminder, just while I think of it, the next Funfold Friday video is this coming Friday. So it's a pre-recorded video. It will be up, I think it's 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, both Facebook and YouTube. And then the recipe card will go out in next week's Wednesday email. And then I suppose I better start designing the next one. And the next Thursday Tech, because that is coming up too. Alrighty, I want a small piece for the tree trunk. There we go. Alrighty. Yep, that's all of them, and in the middle, and all that is left, we will add the insert, add some embellishments. Okay, and so for this one, I'm using the Delightful Decorative Dots from the current mini catalogue. So just add a few of those. And let's go with some of the smaller ones as well. And second card is done, so nice and quick and easy. That's fine, Dimity. It's a recorded video anyway, so you'll be able to, you can either watch it on YouTube, so you'll just be able to go straight to the video and watch it at any time you like, and same with Facebook, you can just find the video and play from whenever, so it's not, you don't have to wait until the live is finished or anything like that. It's a pre-recorded one, so that is absolutely fine. All right, final card, shaker card. So let me get my kit out. So this uses the tree shaker domes, so these coordinate with the pine tree trimmings bundle. So now, little tip with this, because I learnt the hard way. So obviously this one I'm using the Party Banners dies, and I've die cut the shape. Just be mindful of the size. If you're, say, die cutting from something like this, just be mindful of what size you're using, just because you need to factor in the extra width of the dome. So actually, I might still have it up here. When I originally did it, I was going to go one size down. And so I die cut because I'm thinking, oh yeah, that fits, that's all fine. But then when you, and it was only just a tiny bit too small, but don't know if how well you can see that on the camera, but it meant that you can just see the edge of the dome through, like at the banner, and there wasn't a lot of room at the top, so I had to go the next size up. So just be mindful, if you know the tree die might fit, but make sure you've got enough space underneath. Plus you probably, so this is the piece, and it depends on how you're putting it together, but because I'm stamping on the piece that is going behind, you also need to factor in enough space for that as well. So go a little bit bigger than you think you need. So let's actually, while I've got this here, what I'm going to do to make it a bit easier, because I am going to be stamping, and I do want to try and get it as close to, as close to the center as possible. I'm just going to trace around the dome, and this is also going to help when it comes to adding the shaker elements, because I'm stamping and I want to make sure that it ends up in the center. I actually want to, rather than putting all the shaker elements in and then sticking that down over the top, I actually want to do it the other way round, so that I can try and keep the sentiment centered. So this also helps to guide you as to where where your shaker elements need to go. But again, just factor in the extra width, so you want to make sure you come in a little bit further, so that you don't have ones that are sort of right on the edge and then get stuck by the adhesive. All right, so I am going with the From Our House to Yours sentiment again. So we'll go with the Real Red again. And let's see if I can get this roughly centered. Then what I want to do before I forget, because I forgot when I was doing my sample card, because I want to stamp on this, I want to do it now, not after I've added the dome. So let's do that now. So I'm using the little snowflake from Delicate Pine, so it's just this little one here, but of course you could use any snowflake image that you want. So although this one does coordinate with the designer series paper that I'm using. So shaded spruce, but we are going to stamp off. So let me get a bit more on that. So just randomly stamping. Hopefully this ends up looking better than the original one, because that wasn't quite the way I intended. I'd forgotten, and then was sort of doing what I could, and then realized that it wasn't quite going to work for anything around here, and I actually ended up, and thankfully because it's quite a small stamp, you know, I could get away with it, but I actually ended up just using my finger as the block and doing it that way, just to try and get some of it closer to the center. Not going to work with larger stamps, but smaller ones not so bad. Still not ideal. Alrighty, that should be plenty. Yes, absolutely, Dimity. I very often forget to stamp off. Done that many times. And when I do, I just pretend that was entirely intentional and just find a way to make it work. Or at least make it work as best I can, because yes, it is very easy to forget. I think everyone has done that at some point. Or I've done the opposite and I've stamped off too many times before actually stamping on my project. So I've done both. Alright, so we are going to add the shaker elements now, and actually I'm just gonna stick this on some scrap grid paper, just so that if any fall off, it's a bit easier to pick them up. So I'm using a combination of the loose gold sequins and the gold shaker stars, and hopefully I can get this open without them flying everywhere. So I'm just going to add a bunch into the middle, and once you think you've got enough, that's probably plenty, I'm going to put the lids back on before I end up with them flying across the room. And then I'm just going to nudge them all into the center, just so they're well away from that border, because we need to allow that extra space. And then just get the backing off, and then we're just going to do our best to line it up with the outline, and also making sure that the sentiment is where we want it. It's a little crooked. Let's see if I can I straighten that slightly? Nope, that's all right. That should still be okay. It's close enough to centered. I'm fine with that. Got one that escaped, and then once we stick that down, that is going to be all fine. And then we can take the backing off the front, and we slide this down. I usually add a bit of extra glue, but let's see how it goes without that for this one. So that's all stuck down, nothing overlapping, so I think that is good to go. That looks, I'm happy with that. So I'll actually grab a new glue out, so that, although I've got to take the plastic off. And then we will adhere that down. And just want to make sure this one is, because you've got a bit of extra weight and bulk, I do want to make sure this is fairly secure. So press it down firmly all over, because you want to make sure it's well stuck down. That looking pretty good. All right. And let's grab the base. So shaded spruce base and some of the Elegant Pine Snowflakes paper. For anyone who's never made a shaker card before, these domes make it so much quicker and easier than the sort of more traditional ways. There's a few variations on how to do it, and I've seen people do it with, I've seen quite a few people do it with the like the clear bags. It's kind of a well, I shouldn't say cheats version, but it's a modification on the more, I guess, traditional format. I like the traditional one with the raised area, but it does take longer. These domes make it so much quicker and easier, and they're just a lot of fun. I do love shaker cards. I really should make them a lot more often because they are fun. I will do a technique class on shaker cards at some point, and I will include the different variations on it, because sometimes you do need the quick and easy, and sometimes you want the more traditional. So it is one that is on my list. And if you have any techniques or fun folds that you want a class on, please let me know, and I will add them to the list, because it always helps if I know what people actually want to see, because sometimes I might dismiss something thinking that, you know, it's not that interesting or everybody knows how to do it, but in reality that's not actually the case at all, and people do want to see it. So please do let me know what you want to see, and I will do my best. Alrighty, let's add the insert. then all that is left, we need to add some ribbon. So this is the shiny real red ribbon. And then we'll add some of the faceted snowflakes as well. Okay, and grab a glue dot. So that's going to go just below the tree, and then stuff going everywhere. Bring the snowflakes back in. I'm running out of the red ones. Gonna have to get some more. So we'll just add a few of the red ones. Where we're going to go? Let's go over here. And of course you can always add more. But I'm running out for now, so I won't. Alrighty, that is the final card. So let me just bring everything back in. Hi Renee, nice to see you. Alrighty, so these are the 3 cards from this week's class. So we've got a heat emboss card, a shaker card, and a nice quick and simple card. So remember, you have until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in, and I will send you the kits out for those. And next week is homemade treats. So that's a bundle. So that will be next week's class. And remember, Fun Fold Friday video is this week, so Friday night about 8 o'clock. That should be up. And until next time, have a great week.